And we are live.
Live.
Resolving an audio issue.
Oh, Steve.
Hello, Allison.
All right. Oh, Kevin says both Allison and playback sound fine to him. Need overall gain increases, but I mean, I'm hitting the tops here, guys. I'm hitting little red bouncies.
Your voice is, it's the playback that isn't.
Okay, so I guess what I can do, since it's just for this, I can put in a volume block just to increase for the live show, but it won't, this shouldn't wreck my recording, because that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to I'm going to put a block in there, and I'll go to there. Okay, that should be twice as loud.
It's, again, it's not your voice real time. It's the playback that needs adjustment.
They're saying my voice too. Okay, says much better. So playback will also be twice as loud.
Look at the volume
okay,
when play.
I'm working on this right now, Steve. I don't need more feedback just yet. Okay, I'm going to hit playback.
Don't hear it.
You don't hear it at all?
No.
Could you guys... Oh, that's bad. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. No, that's just because when I slid this little block, it didn't go to both places. Yeah, come on. There you go. Okay, try it. Here we go. Let's try it one more time. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
Still pretty quiet.
It's not any louder?
No.
Oh,
it's much quieter than your...
Hang on. I see it. Okay. Let's do that. Then, actually, I don't need that block at all. Okay, we'll do this. Oh. Now I can hear myself. That's interesting. Okay, last time, I promise. This is going to work. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Was that a lot louder?
I think it was louder, yeah. Not quite as loud as your real-time voice, but
medium louder. Wow. I mean, I can go to 3x. This should be like blowing your ears out. So, okay, here we go.
I think you're increasing your live voice,
This is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Yes, I'm increasing the volume. That's what you guys are asking me to do.
No, your live voice is fine. The playback is down here. I'm trying to get you just to increase playback and keep your live voice into the mic the same.
Okay. They said I was faint. I should only listen to Steve then. Okay. Nobody else gets the volume increased. Okay, we'll try it again. This should be, my voice should now be normal, and now here's playback. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast.
Now your
podcast,
live voice sounds quiet. Quieter. I don't know what's happening over there.
It should be quieter, because you just told me I was cranking it up too high, and that I should put it back where it was.
I don't think you understood what I was trying to get across.
What would you like, dear?
You can go ahead, leave playback as is now, and bring your live voice up now to match the playback volume. It's changed. I don't know what you're doing.
Yes, because you told me to change it. Okay,
go ahead and try that.
Back to where I had it. Here you go. Now my voice should be really loud.
That's too much. That's too much.
Okay, so you don't want it the same as the playback.
Right.
You want it different. I
but
wonder what you want it at. Let's see if I can find some place where you'll say it's good enough. Okay. Change this to 2x. Crank it all the way up. Okay. How's my live voice?
Pretty loud. You're going red, but... So you can only do it in blocks, multiples, 1, 2, 3?
I can cut it back. How about there? Is
better.
That good?
That's better. Now playback?
Alistair is saying when you say it's too loud, it's just about right for him.
Do playback, please.
Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com.
That's quieter, but we can live with it. If you look at your audio meter, it's at least 6 dB, maybe 8 dB lower in playback than live, but that's okay.
So I don't think you understand how this works. Let me review. Watch when I record. Look when I'm talking. Do you see how I'm going into the red? I'm going
Yep.
-9 to -6.
Hmm.
After I record, Hindenburg automatically brings the levels down. It's done that every single time you've watched it since I started recording the show. So watch. Whoops. Hang on. Watch what happens when I start to record. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com. Now watch the audio. See it go down?
Not
And now
really.
when I
It's
do
too.
playback, it's lower. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast
Okay.
podcast. It's been doing that every single time you've watched me use Hindenburg since the day I got the software.
It's a little hard to see with that tiny Hindenburg
But the
display.
bouncies that you were watching, the meter, it always brings it down like that every single week. It's
All
always
right.
done that.
Well, let's just leave it at this point.
Ron says if we just quit arguing, he'll adjust his volume. Okay. Are they pretty similar? Pretty decent, Ron says. Good. Okay. So I am now running 2 audio hijack sessions at the same time, which is what's making this ultra tricky. And it's very definitely a different setup than we've ever had before. But that's the only way you can have both of me, because there's something broken, probably caused by Tahoe. But I'm going to actually talk about that a little bit here. And
Did you do roll call?
I did not. I was a little busy.
I thought you were
Second.
about to launch into your.
I am. Roll call. We've got Kevin and Frank from Japan and Jill from the Northwoods. We've got listener Lynn. We've got Mr. Ed. John from Alabama, I think. Ron Hybe, who rhymes with Einstein. Sandy in Las Vegas. And Zoe bringing in the bacon from England. Did I get
Anyone
close?
we miss in the sidebar who may not be in live show listen?
Alistair.
Alistair.
Alistair from New Zealand. He's talking. Mom, stop fighting, please. There, Zoe brought the bacon. We're good. We've got bacon. Everybody can hear me. It sounds too loud to me, but that's okay. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, October 26, 2025, and this is show number 1068. Well, last week the live audience had to wait quite a while for the start of the show because I was having a very odd audio problem. As you know, I use a lot of products from Rogue Amoeba, and they're awesome. And the problem seemed to be somewhere in the interaction between these tools and macOS Tahoe. The problem was that I could pipe the audio from my mic alone into StreamYard for the YouTube audience and for Discord for the live chat room, but I could not pipe both my mic and the audio playback from Hindenburg into the 2 live audience experiences. That meant they could hear me when I was just talking, but I couldn't play anything back for them. This setup has been working for several years, so I kind of suspected that macOS Tahoe had broken something. I wrote an email to the Rogue Amoeba folks, and the response I got back from Aaron made me really happy. Now, don't get too excited. We haven't fixed the problem yet. Here's why it made me happy. I started my email by giving him a little table of all of the apps I'm using from Rogue Amoeba with their version numbers, along with the fact that I'm running macOS 26.0.1. Then I gave a short paragraph overview of the problem. After that, I inserted screenshots of each of the apps from Rogue Amoeba and how I have them configured. You may have noticed that I'm fond of taking screenshots, and yes, these had nice rounded borders on them. Now, Rogue Amoeba also has a support article about a known bug in macOS 26 that causes lost audio, and it's related to mismatches in audio sample rates. I told Aaron that I'd read the article, and I gave him screenshots of every audio input source, whether real or virtual, showing that everyone was set to a sample rate of 48 kilohertz. I gave him the steps I followed to test and showed him that I tested in different audio recording apps like Hindenburg and QuickTime to ensure it wasn't a problem with the live show tools. Now you get to hear why Aaron made me so happy. Here's what he wrote back. Thank you so much for the incredibly thorough write-up and documentation you sent over. You did a fantastic job explaining your setup and the exact steps you've taken so far. I can't say enough how helpful that is. Made my job incredibly easy to follow what's happening. Well, what do you think of that, huh? Anyway, he talked some more about some tests that he wanted me to run and some log files to collect, and he ended his email with, thanks again for such an excellent and detailed report. It's genuinely appreciated. I got to tell you, I felt so great hearing that response. I don't think anyone's ever given me so much praise for doing this much work to be clear and concise. I don't need to be patted on my little pumpkin head all the time, but it sure felt good. Now, I kind of feel like this is what we should all be doing to make their job better, to be able to understand what the problem is. Anyway, like I think I said at the beginning, I have a workaround for now that I developed, but I look forward to a solution soon from Aaron and the awesome team at Rogue Amoeba. Isn't that nice?
Yeah. Had you met him before? Was that the first time?
Yeah, I talk to Aaron a lot. The Rogue Amoeba people kind of know me at first name basis because I kind of talk to them a lot. I'm
A
always
lot of
giving
feedback.
them, yeah, yeah. I'm always asking questions, and they're great though, man. They're fantastic. I've written letters of commendation for them to Paul Kafasis, to the CEO, and so they know I appreciate them too. But yeah, where am I going next? Learn Markdown. All right. Here we go. Gotta love support people believe you when you tell them you're not a newbie and can talk techie. Yeah, yeah, that's a big thing. Whoop. Happy Upbeat Kids musical intro. A few weeks ago, I taught some of A few weeks ago, I taught you some of the basics of Markdown in a written article, but if you learn better from a video tutorial, I have just the thing for you. My tutorial for Screencasts Online was just published, and it's all about Markdown. I teach you the basics of Markdown syntax while demonstrating using apps like Typora, BB Edit with the help of Marked, and more. I teach how to export to Markdown from notes, and I even demonstrate how some messaging apps support Markdown now. It's not a long tutorial, but I packed in a lot. If you're not yet a member of Screencast Online, you can get a free 7-day trial and watch my Markdown tutorial at screencastonline.com. When you're done watching my tutorial, you can watch all of the current back catalog. I hope you'll go check it out. Oh, good support from Alistair. And just like Rogue Amoeba, they didn't solve your problem yet, but it felt good, right? Let's see. Right here. Alistair, so the problem Sandy's having is she can't delete a folder. And I told her that I heard the same problem being discussed on the Accidental Tech podcast. And John Syracuse answered it. And his basic answer was sometimes you can't. It's like, wait, what? If John Syracuse can't figure out, I think we're all doomed. How Nuke and Pave is in your near future. I'll hold your hand, Sandy. All right, here we go. I don't mean to tease you, but in a few weeks, you'll get to hear a really fun conversation Bart and I had about how he's approaching AI. As will come at no shock to anyone, he starts from a position of privacy. We've already recorded this conversation, but I'm saving it for a week when we're going to be out of town. I'm going to make sure you have enough content for a full show when we're gone, and that's going to be part of it. However, this week we also recorded kind of the flip side about how Bart's using AI, and that's how he uses it in his coding. This week's show is, nope. It should be this show. It should be this recording, but whatever. This recording is in the Programming by Stealth feed, but it's what we like to kind of call a tidbit episode. These are episodes that aren't part of the greater theme of learning to program, but rather standalone segments of interest to the programming community. If this sounds interesting, you can find the episode in your podcatcher of choice by searching for Programming by Stealth, or you can find it at the link in the show notes to pbs.bartificer.net, where of course the whole thing is in a fabulous written tutorial. This one is called Tidbit 14 of Why Coding with AI. Now let's get into some meat. Oh, I didn't write a support the show. What should I say in support the show this week? I know what I'll say. Let me write something for a second. Vamp for me for a second, would you, Steve? Tell them something
All right.
interesting.
So how many Dodger fans do we have out there? Are they playing tonight?
Tomorrow. I found out they won last night, though.
Yeah.
I didn't watch.
Evened it up.
Talk, Steve.
Yeah, it's a sports thing. Sports ball.
Dodgers. This is dead silent, Steve. Talk about Kepler.
Yeah, well, hey, we did get a solution. I don't know if you talked about it last week. We've had some issues with Kepler pulling when we walk him. He wants to basically go faster or in other directions than we are going. And we've tried all sorts of different collars, including the ones that have these little spikes in them, although they're covered with plastic. But even that wasn't quite working. So the vet recommended this collar that actually has a strap that goes around the muzzle too. It's not a full muzzle, but it does have a strap around the chin and then one around his neck. And that seems to be working surprisingly well. Leader collar, is that what they called it? Leader collar? Might be. They had a name for it, but it's probably a brand name. Works well because as he pulls forward, it kind of pulls his snout to the side. Used it for Tess. Okay. Tess was, you might want to clarify, that was one of your dogs, right, Ed? And that launches a whole nother conversation.
All right. I was muted that whole time so I could write. Not sure if the wife will tolerate it. Were you talking about the leash?
Yes. I wanted Ed to clarify that he got the leader collar for Tess, and I wanted him to clarify that was his dog. He said, no, it was his wife. And that's launched.
No, Ed says Tess was my dog, no longer with us.
No, it said, no, my wife. Above.
Oh, okay. It does work.
Was that called a leader collar, Al?
It's called Gentle Leader.
Gentle
There's a
leader.
picture of Kepler wearing it down at the
Yeah.
waters. And
Let
the
me
water
go.
should be in your.
I'll bring that up.
Okay. And I am going to start talking about. I got a long one to record here. A mammoth. Whoop. Mammoth recording. Copy link. All right. Here we go. There are 27 screenshots in this recording. In this, oh yeah, it doesn't keep him from chewing balusters. Yeah, we had Ed over to help us with one of the balusters, the things that support the hand railing on the stairwell that Kepler decided to eat. Hey, good news! It's only gonna be about $400 to get a new one made. Maybe we should just buy you a lathe, Ed.
The view of Kepler didn't come through. Maybe
Okay.
you were too close to home.
Oh, maybe. Here. Does that work to do HEICs directly like that? Yeah.
Yeah, that worked.
That's what it looks like on. He is not a fan, but he's so much easier.
Initially, when we put it on, and Allison went for a walk, he was doing somersaults with it to try and get.
Somersault, like straight forward, flipping himself upside down.
He's an athletic dog, but wow, I didn't know dogs could do that. Perfect somersault.
Oh, Ron, you're a subscriber and you've forgotten about it? That's good. You got a lot of good content to look forward to. Okay, here goes. Water. Talk amongst yourselves. You may remember way back in 2008 when Bart Buchatz taught us about site-specific browsers. A site-specific browser is kind of what it says on the tin. It's a browser designed to go to one specific site. We'll go through how site-specific browsers can be created, and I'll explain what problems can be solved along the way. We're going to first look at a way Apple provides, and then I'm going to tell you about a more advanced method using a tool called Unite by developer Benjamin Goldman from BZG Apps. With the advent of so many web-based services, it's convenient to create a site-specific browser that opens just one website as though it was a real app. Apple allows you to do this on the iPhone with the Add to... Can't afford to stumble this quickly. Apple allows you to do this on the iPhone with the Add to Home Screen option under the Share button. With the introduction of macOS Sonoma, you've been able to do the same thing from Safari by going to File, Add to Dock. I'll use my Elapsed Time Adder web app that I built and maintain over on GitHub server as an example. The URL isn't pretty at all. It's https://podfeed.github.io/time-adder. Now, remembering that might be kind of hard. After navigating there and choosing Add to Dock, I'm invited to change the name of the new app. By default, Safari sees the page name as a web app to add time. I can change that to Elapsed Time Adder, which makes more sense to me. I don't have a favicon for this site yet, so the app's icon will be a generic W. Once added to the dock, this also creates an app inside your user-level applications folder. So not one that's available to all users of your Mac. It's not in the main applications folder. You could move it there, though, if you like. The resulting web app is kind of halfway between an app and a web page. It doesn't necessarily have a URL bar at the top, so it looks more like an app than a browser. But it does have buttons for any plugins you've installed in Safari. In mine, I can see 1Password, Keyword Search, Velia, and Grammarly, along with the share icon. The window also has a forward and back button, which makes sense, since you may navigate around while using this little web app. But here's where Apple's implementation of site-specific browsers breaks down. Remember that my Elapsed Time Adder web app is hosted at podfeet.github.io. Well, I have another web app hosted on GitHub, and that's my Time Shifter Clock. Its URL is also at podfeet.github.io, but after that you write time-shifter-clock. If I click on a link to Time Shifter Clock app, it won't open in my normal browser. It will open in my Elapsed Time Apper web... Time Apper. If I click on a link to Time Shifter Clock app, it won't open in my normal browser. It will open in my Elapsed Time Adder web app that I just finished creating by Safari. So I've got the Time Shifter Clock open, but when I look in the URL bar, it says Elapsed Time Adder. That's because they have the same base URL. Now, this example might have been too esoteric. I mean, it's kind of all about me. So let me give you one you might actually run into. Imagine you've got a Google Sheet you work in all the time. It'd be handy to have a web app for that sheet. Once you create it using Apple's Add to Dock, all links to all Google Docs from any source will open in that site-specific browser. That kind of makes the Add to Dock web app pretty much useless for that kind of tool. You also can't be logged into two different accounts at the same time with the Safari-created site-specific browser. If you have a work account and a Play account for Google, you'd want them to be independent site-specific browsers, and you can't do that with Apple's Add to Dock. And that brings us to why I turned to Unite from BZG Apps. This is an app that is purpose-built to help you create site-specific browsers. It's only $30 for a solo license, and that's for just one Mac. If you need a license for more than one Mac, you can get the Pro version for $50. Or if you want to have fun for the whole family, the $90 family license will give you a license for 5 Macs. Unite requires macOS 12 Monterey or later. Now here's the other thing. If you're a SetApp user, you'll be glad to know that Unite is also available with your existing subscription. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Kurt Liebezeit told me about... God, I hope that's pronounced Liebezeit. Now I'm getting stuck on Ron Hybe. I think it's Liebezeit. Jeez, I hope. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Kurt Liebezeit told me about Unite 2 years ago. He even offered to do a review. But the new feature of Add to Dock had just been introduced in Sonoma, and we thought Unite had been Sherlocked. But like most examples of Sherlocking, Apple makes a minor feature available to all, but dedicated apps often have capabilities far beyond that simple offering. Now, most NosillaCastaways keep security front of mind, and we're not fond of how websites leak data through the use of cookies. In the BZG Apps support article entitled Understanding Privacy in Unite, there's a section on app isolation that I'd like to quote. It says, each Unite app operates independently, providing a layer of isolation from other apps. This approach prevents the possibility of cross-app data leakage and ensures the safety of your data. I like that. They also explain on that page that Unite apps are based on WebKit, the same browser engine that powers Safari. They chose WebKit because of its security, performance, and compliance with standards. Unite apps even come with their own built-in password manager, and they explain in the same article how it's secured. You can toggle it off if you're not interested in using it. Hey, Steve, are you following along? No, okay.
Yes.
I think I'll fix it. This is a subtle one. I forgot a space, and I remember noticing this. Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Kind of like incognito windows. Yeah, kind of. I hope it's Libezite. Oh, well. When you first launch the Unite app, you'll see suggestions for 6 pre-built web apps. As of the time I'm writing this article, the suggestions are for ChatGPT, YouTube, Duolingo, X, Gmail, and WhatsApp. In the upper right, there's a button that says See All, which reveals a giant list of pre-built web apps. I was too lazy to count them myself, so I asked ChatGPT, and it said there were 97 apps listed. Now, it turns out Steve Matten saw my article, and he wasn't too lazy to count them himself. And as seems to be more and more frequent, it turns out the AI assistant lied to me. There are 84 pre-built apps. Now, luckily, they are helpfully sorted into categories of AI, social media, entertainment, messaging, storage and file sharing, productivity, documents, finance and production markets, shopping, and finally, learning and writing. I highly recommend you take a look through these pre-built web apps before constructing your own. You might just find the one you want to create is already in the list. Let's start by creating a ChatGPT app with Unite since it's right there in the front page of suggestions. On the Create Applications page, you'll see the name ChatGPT has been added, along with the URL of chat.openai.com. We can edit these fields, and I would suggest as a best practice adding the word Unite to the title. I find it useful from time to time to tell my real apps from my Unite apps. You'll also see the ChatGPT icon to the left. Actually, note that all Unite apps will be in your real applications folder, not your user-level applications folder. Now you'll see the ChatGPT icon to the left of this main screen with a Customize button, which lets you choose from the default flat icon to a rounded rectangle or a circle with some depth. If this was an app you were creating from scratch, you might want to make your own icon or copy it from somewhere. So Unite lets you do that by browsing your Mac for an appropriate image file. Now, there's a lot more we could do in creation of our Unite app for ChatGPT, but let's just use the Create Application button and see how it looks right out of the box. After a second or two, you'll be told your application was successfully created, and you'll be invited to launch it now. When your ChatGPT Unite app opens, you'll see the familiar left sidebar for ChatGPT and the Ask Anything text field in the middle. But you'll notice it doesn't really look like a web page. It has the red, yellow, green buttons in the top left, but there's no URL bar at the top. In the top right, you'll see 3 tiny little icons. The first button will unfold or fold back up the URL bar. Sometimes you do need it, but it's also nice to have a clean interface. The next button is to open a vertical tab sidebar. Since this is a proper web browser, there will be times you'd like to have tabs. If you don't enable the sidebar, they'll be across the top like a traditional browser. The final button opens some settings, but I'm going to circle back to those in a little bit. I just noticed that doesn't have a border on it, and that screenshot just disappears. I'm going to make a note. Let's see, that's the CG sites. screenshot, no border. Surprising, all the rest of them. Oh, you have Unite as well? Cool. There we go. I do have some bad news, and it's that all of the buttons I've just described are simply labeled button if you're using a screen reader. So that's all you're going to hear if you're using VoiceOver. The share button, add a tab button, and refresh button in the URL bar are also labeled button. Even worse, the stoplight buttons, home, back, and forward buttons are impossible to even navigate to with VoiceOver. I thought maybe our screen reader friends could live without those buttons, but all of the settings for the entire app are labeled button as well. I've gotten to know the developer pretty well over the past few months as I've been studying this app, and I sent him a note about the lack of accessibility with the hope that he'll make it a high priority. He wrote back. He said, "Yes, this is a good catch. I'm currently working on the next major version of Unite and will try to do better on this in..." No. I'm currently working on the next major version of Unite and will try to do better on this front as we reevaluate the overall architecture. Now, if I hear on the next version that Unite is accessible with a screen reader, I'll be sure to let you know. All right. Unite apps can be presented in 3 distinctly different views. The default is the normal view, where the app is a regular-looking window on your Mac. I mentioned a little settings button in the upper right. From the settings button, you can change normal to status bar view or compact view. Status bar view changes the entire app into a menu bar app. And not every app will do well in this mode, but ChatGPT in particular is the kind of app you might want to jump into, ask a quick question, and then get back to work. Compact view does what it says on the tin. It opens in a very small window. The size isn't really the magical part because if you drag the corner to embiggen it, the size is remembered even if you quit and reopen. Compact view's real power is that the window floats above all other apps. Now, that would get on my nerves after a while, but I can definitely see sometimes where I'd like a persistent window to perform certain tasks, so it's nice you can toggle that on and off. After you've created an app, you can go back to Unite and edit the design. First, quit the app, then launch Unite. Under the suggested apps to build, you'll now see recently added, and your first app should be listed there. In my example, it's called ChatGPT Unite. If you hover over the newly created app, you'll see a downward chevron appear on the far right. When selected, the top option is to edit. But from there, we could also uninstall apps from this little pop-up window. It's not hard to go to the applications folder and delete an app, but it's cleaner to do it from this window because any, leftover associated files could confuse Unite if you make a new app for the same service. We can also launch the app, reveal it in Finder, or export the application. This will create a .unite config file that you can share or use on another Unite licensed Mac. If we select Edit, we're taken back to the same screen that we saw when we were creating the app. If I had one complaint about Unite, it's that the window size can't be increased, and there's a lot of info on each page. For the show notes, I created a scrolling screenshot so you could see all of the options at the same time. Now, the first option is App Tabs, and I'll come back to that because it's super cool. The second section is App Mode, which almost correlates with the view options we looked at earlier, like Normal Mode, Menu Bar App, and Compact Mode. But it also has an option for Sidebar App. Sidebar apps have a vertical tab list down the left or right side. In a normal view app, remember we had a button at the top to reveal and hide the URL bar, but with a sidebar app, that option disappears. You'll only see an icon to hide and reveal the sidebar. But if you hide the sidebar with that button, it reveals the URL bar and changes your tab to take on the traditional horizontal positions. If you're an Arc fan or you favor using plugins like tree-style tabs to get vertical tabs, you may want to experiment with making sidebar apps. Next on the Edit Application window are 3 options to modify the behavior of your shiny new app. You'll see link forwarding, block ads, and window style. Window style is easy to explain. It's just dark mode versus light mode versus auto to follow your system style. Block ads is also self-explanatory. It's a simple toggle from off to on. Link forwarding is a bit more complex. Link forwarding bit more complex. Link forwarding allows you to be in control of how links are handled in your app. Do you want your app to open links within the app if they're to other services, or would you rather have them open in your default web browser? Now remember, sometimes you're trying to keep these services from knowing about each other, so it might be good to have it back in your default web browser. Maybe do you want them to open as background tabs, new windows, or maybe even replace the current tab? In the Edit Application Setup, you'll see that link forwarding is on, but there's no granularity to what that means. However, once you open your application, it will have settings just like any other app. It's unusual, though, in that there are so many settings. One entire tab is dedicated to how link forwarding works. The last bit of setup when you're editing or creating an app is the save path. By default, it's set to your system-level applications folder, but you're not restricted to that path. Might be a good way to organize your apps by creating a folder in your applications folder called Unite Apps, and then changing the path to applications/Unite Apps so you can keep them all piled together. That might be easier than putting the word Unite at the end. Now let's back up to app tabs and have some real fun. The problem app tabs solve is when you want a group of tabs open to different sites, but all in the same app. Think about something you work on where you often need several of the same resources at the same time. Maybe you research the same 5 journals when you're working. Maybe you manage several websites. I'm looking at you, Jill, from the Northwoods. And you'd like to have access to them all in one window. Maybe you want one app that has Google Docs, Google Sheets, and Google Slides. My use case for it is to have all of my ickier social media sites all in one app. When I've published a blog post or a podcast episode, I like to announce it to the world. I launch Slack first and tell the most dedicated NosillaCastaways about what I just published. Then I launch Mona, my Mastodon tool of choice, and I announce it there. But then there's LinkedIn, Threads, Blue Sky, and 2 different places on Facebook that I like to spam. I don't spend any amount of time on these tools, and in fact, I work really hard to not waste time playing around in them. I also don't trust any of these services not to leak my data. If I wanted to protect my data between these services, I'd need to make separate apps for each one. But I decided I'd let them pollute each other, but just not pollute my normal browsing. So I made one super app for all of the services together, and I did that using app tabs. To create an app like this, think ahead to which service you want to be the default tab. If you add a new tab in this app, it will be the same URL as the first one you identify. It's also not easy to rearrange tabs after you've created them in Unite. Let's say I created an app with 5 tabs, 1 primary and 4 more. In order to move, say, the last tab to the second position, I'd have to delete all 4 added tabs, put in the new one, and add the other 3 back in. Might actually be easier to start over than to do all that. So let's walk through how cool this is, though. I'll create an app called Social Media Unite. I had ChatGPT create me an app logo that has a red circle with a line through it, the universal symbol for no. I can use that customize button to grab that logo from Finder and add it to my app. I made I'll make the primary. You like my logo? Let's see. Alistair's saying multi-website single window is very interesting. Good. And Ron says Chrome tab groups sync across devices. Yeah, that's same thing with profiles on the Mac. On Safari, I didn't like that either. I just want standalone. I don't want it ever to change. Just want it to be the same thing. All right, where did I end? Finder and add it to my app. I'll make the primary tab go to linkedin.com. Any new apps will... Jeez, how hard was that? I'll make the primary tab go to linkedin.com. Any new tabs will always open to LinkedIn, like I said earlier. Now I'm going to add 4 new tabs. See, that's not clear. I'll make the primary tab go to linkedin.com. I can create more tabs that are going to stay there all the time. But if I ever do, like a Command T to create a new tab, that will always open to LinkedIn. Now I'm going to add 4 new tabs. I mentioned I have 2 Facebook links where I post. One is a Facebook group for the NosillaCast, and the other one is the main Facebook feed for my personal account. I usually start on the Facebook group first. I post there, and then I forward to my personal account. Technically, I don't need my personal account in this app because of the way I use it, but just these few times a week, I let myself take a quick look through any notifications I've received, answer any that sound interesting, and then I move on. Next, I'll add tabs to Threads and Blue Sky to finish out the list, and hit save. On first launch of the new app, you'll need to authenticate into all the web services. This is further proof that this app is isolated. Even if you're logged into Facebook on Safari, this new app, it doesn't know anything about that, so it really is isolated. Now, you may remember about a year ago when I announced with glee that I had finally found a use for tab groups with profiles in Safari. But a little bit later on, I explained that they were too finicky because if you navigated away from their URLs, the tab groups would remember the new URL. The beauty for me of Unite. The beauty for me of Unite site-specific browsers is that I have consistent experiences every time I open one of the apps. I want to be able to open my social media app and always see those same 5 tabs for the same 5 social media services, no matter what I've clicked on while I've been in there. By default, that's not the way Unite apps behave, though. You have to change one little setting. If you open settings from the menu bar or using Command comma and select the Behavior tab, you can uncheck the box that says on startup to restore windows and tabs from the last session. You may like that behavior, but it's not the way I want these apps to behave. I want them always the same every time I go in. Well, now that we're here, let's explore settings a little bit more. As I said earlier, the options and settings are vast, so I'm just going to hit on what I consider the highlights, or we're going to be here all day. On the General tab, you can change what happens with new windows and tabs, with default set to open to the home page, but you can change that to an empty tab. You remember, or empty page, I should say. Remember I said every new tab would open in LinkedIn? This, you could change it. You could have it be empty. This might be handier since, by definition, you already have the home page open on your first tab. Why would you need another one? The rest of the settings are along the same lines. Same kinds of things you'd change with any browser, like, where to save downloads. The App Settings tab lets you change some of the same settings you set up. Too many words saying settings too much. The App Settings tab lets you change some of the same things you set up or edited when creating the app inside Unite. For example, you can rename the app in the App Settings section. Change the app icon. For example, you can rename the app, change the app icon and status bar icon, change the home page, enable blocking of ads, and choose from the 3 views we talked about earlier. You can even add and delete tabs from the app settings, but you still can't reorder them there. One super interesting and important thing happens if you change or just save the homepage URL in settings. It will trigger a pop-up window. One super interesting and important thing happens in here if you change or just save the homepage URL in settings, or you change the name. It will trigger a pop-up window telling you that your newly created app would like to access data from other apps. I initially interpreted this request as a note from the developer warning us that the app would share data with other apps, but Benjamin clarified this for us. He wrote, "When you rename a Unite app, you get this pop-up about managing other apps. The text in that dialog is written by macOS, not me. The reason it asks for it is that the Unite created app needs to communicate back to Unite to change the preferences of the app so the creation tool and the app itself are in sync. If you select ignore, Unite will not properly sync the new name." Now, I saw this pop up when I selected the save button for the home page, not when renaming the file, but I think it's the same issue, so I'll be selecting allow from now on. Now, the design tab for settings is kind of playful. You can make the window float over all others, kind of like compact view, and you can change the opacity of the window. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but maybe liquid glass isn't yet quite hard enough for you to see, so you'd like to add some more translucency to your apps. Is that spelled right? Doesn't look right. Sandy, is that spelled right? Something looks wrong about it. Looks like lunacy to me. I think Kepler's on my door. He's not making too much noise yet, but we might need to move him. It's spelled right. Huh. Looks funny. All right. You can disable window shadows, which again makes them harder to distinguish from other windows. You can actually change the font on websites if the site allows you to. I tried it on an app I built with Unite to just show me Podfeet blog posts, and I chose a super silly, nearly illegible font, and sure enough, Podfeet changed, but only for this Unite site-specific browser. I bet I know how the developer's doing this. The nerds amongst us will know that you can open the developer tools in your browser and actually change the style of things just for the session you're in and displayed only for you. In any case, I think this option to change font could be super helpful if there's a site or service that you like, but you find it difficult to read. Feel free to experiment because there's a handy reset button. Not a hand reset. Handy. There we go. You spell good. Starting probably a decade ago, Apple started forcing developers to make every window look the same in every single app. I find it often it's hard to see which app you're selecting amongst a bunch of windows. With Unite, in settings, you can change the color of the window, which really means just the color of the toolbar. So I put an example in the show notes where I changed the podfeet.com app to have a bright red toolbar. I can always find it now. And there's a lot more to play with under design. Remember earlier when I said you could have your tabs on the left or right with the sidebar view? That's at the bottom of the design tab. That's where you can uncheck the sidebar to be on the left, which moves it to the right. Now, the behavior tab has some interesting options. If you're a spaces fan, you can change whether your app shows in all spaces or behaves normally. You can block your app from opening duplicate tabs and change link opening behavior. If you've got an app like a news site or a stock trading app, you can set the auto refresh time in behavior settings. I mentioned link forwarding when we edited our application, but in the dedicated tab in settings, you can control which URLs and subdomains are allowed and what redirects you might want. I understand this conceptually, but I haven't yet been able to figure out how to change these settings to get the behavior I expect. I need to keep testing with it before I could give you any advice. Now, I know Unite already does a lot, but it has that other big trick up its sleeve that I mentioned earlier. It comes with a password manager. In the BZG Apps help page at help.bzgapps.com, there's a section where the developer explains that it's encrypted with CryptoSwift library, and he gives some more details. They also explain that you can toggle off the password manager if you like. Now, like any good app, Unite apps have keyboard shortcuts, and you can customize them to your little heart's desire. Even here, Unite is playful. You get cute little blue outline characters for your changes. The default shows a pencil, then the command symbol, then an equals icon, and a smiley face. I think Benjamin means that editing keyboard shortcuts will bring you happiness. Now, we're in the home stretch now, kids. The final tab in settings is for advanced features. You can disable JavaScript and plugins that are already enabled by default, and you can block pop-ups just like any proper browser. Since Unite apps are built on the WebKit engine, just like Safari, some apps and services may give you a hard time because they're expecting Chrome, or maybe they want an iPhone view. You can often trick a website by changing what's called the user agent to a different browser. You can do this with other browsers, but Unite allows you to change it too on the Advanced tab. You can change your default search engine from Google to DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, Bing, Ecosia, or Neeva. Believe it or not, there's a lot more to learn about Unite, but I'm going to cut us off here and tell you about a slightly different site-specific browser app that's also from BZG Apps. It's called Coherence. I asked developer Benjamin to explain why he sells two apps that sounds like they do the same thing. He pointed me to a page he's written that explains the differences. The page explains that while they're both site-specific browser tools, they excel in different ways. Unite emphasizes lightweight apps with deep customization and native macOS integration. Unite is based on the custom-made Unite is based on a custom-made WebKit browser, and apps made with it run around 14 megabytes apiece. Now, Coherence, on the other hand, focuses on the power of Chrome extensions and browser flexibility, using Chrome-based browsers on your machine, including Chrome, Edge, Brave, Opera, and more. The apps created with Coherence are 90 megabytes plus, depending on how many extensions you add. Unite, on the other hand, doesn't support extensions at all. The rest of the compare page explains that Unite is much more flexible in customizing the experience, and we've certainly seen a lot of customizations possible. Benjamin suggests that if you can't decide between Unite and Coherence, just buy a bundle with both. If you're a SetApp subscriber, you can get Coherence and Unite through your subscription. The bottom line is that Unite solves a lot of different problems, and it's super easy to create the app you want for any web service you like. You have tons of control over the behavior, and the customization options ensure you can make your apps behave the way you want. It's a one-time purchase, no subscription, folks, and it's in very active development. I use one of my Unite apps at least daily, and it works so much better than any site-specific browser solution I've used before.
Long one.
Yeah.
You're chipping away at Alistair's...
Resistance?
Yes, it's futile.
You like the sounds of this, don't you? Just get a setup subscription. Pays for itself right there.
Two little things may or may not be... They're almost not worth mentioning, but on the right before bottom line, you have a couple paragraphs. The paragraph coherence focuses on the power of Chrome. Mm-hmm. It ends and then begins another sentence, the rest of the compare page, but no line feed. Does that... You see what I'm saying? Is that supposed to be a new paragraph, the rest of the compare page?
I'm sorry. Which am I on the Unite versus Coherence section?
Yes, and there's the paragraph that begins coherence focuses on the power.
Yes.
And then there's what appears to be another paragraph, the rest of the compare page. Or is that part of the same paragraph?
Yeah, it's rendering as part of the same paragraph. But
it doesn't flow with the sentence before it. It's got a line feed but no space like the other paragraphs have. It's a minor thing.
Oh, but no, but I get your question is you're saying, did you intend it that way?
Yeah, it looks like it's like a compromise between having a new paragraph and not.
Yeah, let me see. No.
All right.
It's part of the same paragraph.
Okay, it doesn't connect up with the sentence that ends with support extensions at all. Then there's a line feed to the next.
No, there isn't a line feed.
There is in the blog post.
I'm looking at the blog post.
Let me refresh.
It's weird.
Yeah,
I just
mine,
checked and there's
mine
only
has
a
a line feed.
space. It changed
All right.
the width of your window.
All right. Then the other thing was
Change the width of your window. I bet it's just a line. It's looking like a line feed. Like make it narrower.
No, it doesn't change it. Anyway, it's not big enough to worry about. There was another part where you talked about a scrolling window. I don't see that behavior.
It's not a scrolling window. It's a scroll. It was a scrolling screenshot. So
what do you mean by that?
A scrolling screenshot is something you can do it with. You have Screenshot X. You tell it that I've got a window that I'm going to scroll while it takes a screenshot. So that big long one, that window can't go that long. The windows are always really small.
Okay, just how you created it, not how it appears. Got it.
Right.
Okay, we're good.
Okay. That's a good question, though. I kind of assumed everybody knew what it was. Yes, you need this. All right. I'm going to do a money thing, but I'm not going to talk about money. Now, this is the time I normally panhandle for money, but you know what? There's another way you can support the show. We're going to be going on a few trips to take care of the grandkids here and there between now and the end of the year, and we're getting our house recarpeted. I don't know if you've ever had that done, but it's basically like moving, except you stay in the same house. You have to get every single thing out of every single piece of furniture, cabinets, things like your dishes, everything, it's a big mess. It's really hard. So we're going to have basically a whole week where I'm not going to be able to work on the show. And then, of course, there's the holidays. If you'd like to help the show, consider making a recording about some gadget or software you're enamored with. Heck, you can even do stocking stuffer ideas or, Christmas presents for nerds. That would be a great idea. Something you've been using for a long time that you really like. Write a review, make a recording, and send it to me at allison@podfeet.com. Yeah, the scrolling screenshot is nice. Makes you happy you have hardwood floors. Yeah. People love hardwood floors. I can't stand them. They're loud. Oh, I have 5 minutes to finish.
Sorry about that view.
What? What are you showing?
The back end of the cat.
There's the front end. She's adorable. Okay, let's see. I need music too. Security bits. There we are. Security bits music. And I'm going to do you. You do you. Do you want to hear a plink, Steve? I
Yes.
don't have a lot of time. I hear some loud purring. Okay, listen. Are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Blink.
Good. That's good enough for me.
Okay, good. That's all we have time for. Yeah, that purring is loud. That is a cat butt there.
Oh.
I just heard Kepler too. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Is he right outside my door?
Yeah.
Well, it's that time of the week again. Let's see. Oddfeet.com. Oh, that's a little quick.
Which end was purring?
At podfeet.com. Well, it's that time of the week again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Bouchatz. How are we doing today, Bart?
I'm doing good. My clocks just did that changey thing, so it was swings and roundabouts.
There's a good day. Oh, I gotta tell Frank and Zoe, I am proud of you guys being here at the right time.
Yeah,
Since
good
the United
job.
States did not change time zones. I know England did. Did
Japan, Frank? No. Oh, Japan did.
No. Okay.
So are they synced up with the U.S. or do they just don't change at all?
Expect all streaming to be a minute. Oh yeah, it's an hour earlier for you. It's nice, huh, Zoe?
For 1 week.
And Alistair. Yeah, I never
Oh,
even
Alistair,
tried to
right.
understand. I never tried to understand.
Japan
New
has
Zealand.
oh, so you don't change clocks at all in Japan, huh?
Okay.
Interesting.
Oh, so nobody gets credit then for being here.
No, Zoe-
Zoe does.
Zoe does. What about Alistair?
Oh yeah. Oh, don't. New Zealand goes 2 hours in the opposite direction. I mean, they swing 2 hours each.
Oh, that's
time.
right, because they're going to.
And it's 4 different times a year.
They're
so
going into summer.
I just use my app. My app can tell you what time it is in New Zealand right now. All you do is hit add another city and you'll get Wellington. All right, here we go.
So you stay secure.
Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Did you know you can email me at allison@podfeet.com anytime you like? You want to send one of those reviews over? That's where you send it. If you have questions or a suggestion, you can send those over too. Remember, everything good starts with podfeet.com. You can follow me on Mastodon at podfeet.com/Mastodon. If you want to listen to the podcast on YouTube, you can go to podfeet.com/YouTube. If you want to join the conversation, you can join our Slack community at podfeet.com/Slack, where you can talk to me and all the other lovely NosillaCastaways, and you can see where Alistair is winning Delete Me channel. You can support the show at podfeet.com/Patreon or the one-time donation at podfeet.com/donate with Apple Pay or any credit card, or you can use podfeet.com/PayPal. And if you want to join in the fun of the conversation, nope. And if you want to join in the live show, head on over to podfeet.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCastaways. Next weekend, you'd get to see Forbes and Sienna because we're going to be down with our grandkids, and it's always a big treat for the live show to watch somebody else's grandchildren on a microphone. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed.
Yeah, that's a big treat.
I told Steve I want him to pull all of the clips of all of the times they've been on the live show and compile them for me into a little video. I think that'd be fun, don't you? Fun for me after he did all the work.
It'll be a bit of work. Have to
You
pull
love
it
that
all
kind
off
of
of
stuff.
YouTube.
Stay subscribed. All right. And another bit I was going to
Wow.
do for the show, but
And
6
6
o'clock.
p.m. on the
Boom.
nose.
Boom. I'm exporting. All we have time for is to say goodbye, I guess.
Well,
Or
I'm
unless
glad
you
we,
need to
we
see
got your
Kepler.
audio working.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I'm sure it'll be different next
We'll
week.
see how the final show sounds.
Oh, yeah, for a while I had double my audio, and that was fun. 13 seconds late, your record has been updated. All right, everybody. Well, we will see you next
Oh,
week.
yeah. Happy Halloween. Ed brings
Happy
it.
Halloween.
And in fact, that's why we're going down south. Do a little Halloween with the grandkids.
Oh, it's fun down there.
It'll be good. Wait, did we
What are you doing?
did we lose her? Oh, you're getting Kepler. Okay.
Why do you smell like meat?
It smells like
Hi, everybody.
he's got his ears turned inside out again.
Confused. My ears confused. Look at his cute little ears. Ah! All right. Oh, no. He's trying to climb on the desk. Spit. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.